Hello, hello everybody. This is Emily Robertson from Galerie Robertson Arès in downtown Montreal, and I have with me, next to me on my side anyways, it's François Arès, my partner at the gallery, and we have also the curator, Alysia Yip Hoi, from our new show, our new group show, Beyond Semantics. Hello, Alysia, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Very good. I feel like I have my radio voice on right now.
I like
So I just want to jump right into it because it was the first time at our gallery where François and I felt the desire to work with a curator and see how our artists could be reimagined or re-envisioned by the eyes of someone who's equally as creative as we are. And so you came up with this whole concept beyond semantics. So do you want to take us through a little bit how this process came about?
well, I've always had a huge interest in the art world and I'm very active in the local Montreal art world. But I think before everything else, you and Francois and I had such a similar vision and we have similar tastes and I always admire the choices you guys make in your gallery, and I knew that I need to be involved with you guys somehow. And so when I approached you and we started this dialogue, it was a really natural next step, I feel.
So I'm just going to jump into right now. We have Francois that's in charge of the images because we really want to be showcasing the show. Obviously, this is a very visual experience. So I want to start off with a piece that we would consider definitely an icon to the exhibition. So it starts off with a piece by, as soon as you walk into the gallery, it starts off with a piece by Douglas Scholes, which you can actually see right behind you, but you can see on your screen. So you actually came up with the idea of what if Douglas could be moving on to an enormous scale piece. We're talking about 16 feet worth of tubes filled with different liquids. So it's something that's pretty extraordinary. So can you tell us a little bit about how this piece came to be?
Well, it's really exciting to work with artists that are willing to step out of their comfort zone and work on big commissions and just take an idea and run with it. I mean, this is exactly what Douglas did. And it really turned out to be such a special piece beyond what I had imagined for the space. And the colors that he came up with, even the blue background on the side of the 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 framed part of this installation, the details are phenomenal. The way he mounted it, the way that if you turn the, I'm not going to say canvas, but the one piece around, all of the liquid lines up in a perfect line. Everything's so thought through, and it's really something you have to see with the naked eye, because the blue edging of that piece that you see on your screen right now, it makes it glow from behind, and it really incorporates all of the angles of it. And Doug just so eager to work on this, which was fantastic too.
I know. I have to say, we have some pretty gutsy artists who take on challenges, and that's something that I've loved about our gallery, but just even about this show, where we were asking artists to think outside the box. So we had different artists working on different projects, which we can discuss later. I know that you have a background in sculpture from your university years. So how does that impact? Because I think one of the things that's interesting about Robertson Arès is that we're definitely not about just the square canvas, and we have these different elements like obviously photography, but then we have a lot of sculptural elements or a lot of artworks that are going beyond that square rectangular mold. Like right now we see on the screen, we see Derek Velasquez, we see the basketball nest by Rita Sudan. So we're working in somewhat 3D elements. Do you think that that was part of the appeal when you were selecting the artists for the show?
Absolutely. I think that when I'm always drawn to things that kind of encroach into your personal space, that you can look at from different angles and see different things. Throughout this show, you'll notice a kind of a mix of the 2-dimensional and the 3-dimensional. It's kind of the way I like living my life, and the things I like to see. I like to look around. I like to walk around a piece. And this is a great example. I mean, it's within the frame of a 2D art piece. However, you see the accumulation on his beard. You see, you can look into his eyes and see another plane almost. I mean, it's also very different from his other works. I like this indoor outdoor. As soon as you walk into the gallery, this is like the front wall that you're facing, and it's a play on this indoor outdoor like earth, what you have in your environment, the deep earth. So this is ice, and then right next to it is a beautiful basketball net with the jewelry components, the jewel components from Rita Assouline. And then next to it again is back to Douglas Scholes and gathering of materials from our environment, and a study of how we use them, discard them. Is just obviously I try to create a narrative throughout the show and a flow throughout the gallery. But I really had so much fun just drawing these elements together and trying to tell a story throughout the different gatherings of these artists and individual works of theirs. There's again the jewelry component, the jewels, an outdoor element, the wood, and this is one of, I mean, they're all, it's hard to say, I'll keep saying they're all one of my favorite pieces, but they're all my favorite pieces.
But it's fun because when Francois and I have grown this roster of artists, and we know these artists so personally, and whenever we're creating a new show, we have sort of preconceived notions as to how things go, which was one of the great joys about working with you. Is you came up with combinations that I don't think that naturally Francois and I would have done. Like if we're talking about Rita Assouline and Doug and Lino Lago that we can see right now on the image, those are three artists that I wouldn't have naturally put together, and yet once it was all hung, was really into that contrast. And how can you have like these like just gorgeous basketballs with like dripping in crystals, like it oozes glam and elegance, and then next to that you have Douglas Scholes on these like discarded mattresses. What does that say about us as art collectors? What does that say about us like as even just consumers? And I think it turned out to be a really interesting dialogue, which I love that you brought us there with the show.
Thank you. And you guys really gave me enough space and creative liberty to basically do whatever I want. I mean, I was playing with pieces and just choosing it out of your vault like it was a candy store, and you never know, and you never said stop, and you never said maybe not. It was really such a great experience to just try things out and see how they speak to one another.
We have to talk about the title, because obviously it's a title that just evokes a lot, the beyond semantics. So it and the fact that there are no words in this show, and yet the title makes so much sense to me. So can you tell us a little bit more about the title? Because I know it's something that even from the beginning, from our very first days of conversation, you kind of like, you use this title as the connector to all the pieces. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the title?
So the jumping off point is a literary term, which is semantic satiation. And this is when you take one word and it loses its meaning because you repeat it so much and you continue to use it too much that it loses all meaning. And I think in the art world and within these specific pieces in this collection, it is beyond that. So these are not artworks that are reproduced so often. You will never get tired of them. You always find something new when you're looking at these pieces. And it's so important these days because we direct our gaze to our surroundings, and right now we're more and more in our own homes. it's important to keep engaged and choosing something that will continue to give to you. And I think these pieces are just that.
Absolutely. And obviously, one of the gigantic challenges that, I mean, we can't, as of now, February 2021, we can't not talk about this. You actually curated this show and put on this show in the middle of a pandemic, which is a whole new challenge. So, what are your impressions about that?
It was a huge challenge, and I really didn't know what to expect. Obviously, people could not come in and see. We could not have a traditional vernissage. It's also a really good point of a good starting point for me to try this out and see people's feedback without too much pressure, I suppose. But what's really important is a lot of people are starting to direct their gaze towards their homes and their living spaces and surrounding themselves with beautiful things and things they want to live with and share their time and space with. And the selection here is really something that you can explore in terms of what best expresses me and how do I want to live in my own environment.
One of the things that I thought was interesting that François and I actually never really considered was when you set up to curate the show, you were really curating it from the front window all the way to the back in our lounge. So there's not one single space within the gallery. We had the alcove that you see here with the Derek Velasquez. We had you literally had a front wall built so that we could go from the front all the way to the back. And why was that important to have every single component? Like the bookshelf was curated, the coffee table lounge in the different elements that were placed on it, even elements that were on our desk, all of that was thought through. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, something that a piece of advice that someone gave me going into curating the show is to create a strong narrative. And I think when you tell a story, the first word is just as important as the last word within the story. And so I had to look at it as a complete work. And I think my background in design and sculpture really aided me in looking at it as a 360-degree project. It wasn't just walls, it was the entire experience of the potential viewer, whether someone can come in or not. It's really creating the groundwork for a story.
And I know for a fact that you're also an art collector. So we're looking at Brian Crody right now, and he's part of your personal collection. And how would you say that this group exhibition compares to, for example, what you personally collect? Was that sort of part of the thought process of, hey, I only want to have pieces in this show that are things that I would want in my home, or was that not at all connected?
So that's a really good question, because at first, that was the question I asked myself. Is it a collection of my personal favorites, or is it something bigger? And going back to creating a narrative, it really had to make a cohesive story. I couldn't just say, I'm going to just throw out everything that I like and hopefully people will like it too, because that's, I think, not something other people want to see. They want to go through a journey. They want to see a whole story. And I think this is a better way to convey a story and a better way to communicate a line of thought. Even though I'm working with all these pieces, I kind of fell in love with all of them.
It's true, because sometimes we do receive like artworks where often we're seeing just images from the studio, and François and I each fall in love with completely different pieces. And then once they come into our environment, we fall in love with like also sometimes just completely different pieces for different reasons, or sometimes you get used to something, or just like you see it in your space every day, and suddenly like it's just part of it, you just fall in love with it all over again. I always chuckle because whenever I'm bringing new artwork home, my husband is always like, I'm not sure. And then like a few months later, he's like, it's my absolute favorite. And that's sometimes when you get used to different types of artwork, you just see them in a completely different perspective. That
One thing I
wasn't a question as much as an anecdote.
right. Well, my husband's the exact same way, but sometimes the dialogue continues of, this piece still. But he gets to choose things sometimes too. Not as often as I do, but sometimes. But this particular image, and this is your back office. Yeah. I love this space because it's exactly that. You get to step into this intimate setting and you see what it would be like to live with an artwork, to have it as a part of your living space. It's not on a stark gallery wall or something that you couldn't imagine. This is really, hey, I'm going to sit here and live with it. And it's part of your home now. And that's why I love this part of your gallery, because you can kind of test things out in your own mind's room, saying, what would it be like to live with this on a daily basis?
I have to say, I spent a lot of time telling Francois that there's a lot of pieces that I could be living with.
Yeah.
We obviously can't have this discussion without talking about the fact that you're actually, I was mentioning at first that you're a very creative person, very involved in the arts community, but you're also a jewelry designer in your own right. So you, for this show, were also presenting some outstanding pieces that fit very nicely into the show, and that's something we've never done at the gallery. So how did it feel to have these exquisite pieces in an art context? And is it I guess it's sort of always meant to be, because they're like mini artworks.
Well, that's it. I mean, studying jewelry design, it was always you always find jewelry design and furniture design and decorative arts are one and the same, and they're always grouped together, and it's for a very good reason. They are wearable sculptures. And I took this opportunity to incorporate some of my pieces, which is fantastic. I mean, it's such a great opportunity for me, and to showcase it in a different light. Going back to the other image, I created this particular piece for this show. It is an onyx, mother of pearl, emerald, all surrounded with diamonds in white gold. The necklace is a tennis necklace, so it's all diamonds, and it moves along the chain. I think I was most excited to try it on you, Emily, when I brought it in.
I was very excited to be wearing it too. And I wonder sometimes, because it's interesting how we see for our own collectors, where we'll see people who love collecting amazing art tend to have, like, there's just certain interests, like they love and this is just a stereotype, this is not like necessarily like facts, but I feel like art collectors often, they're lovers of just beautiful things. One of my friends is always saying, I'm an aesthetic person, so the things that surround her, she wants them to be beautiful, for whatever beautiful can mean, but just beautiful things. So it's about like eating amazing food, drinking amazing wine, and just surrounding yourself like with great art, beautiful jewelry. So I thought that it was like a very interesting connection.
Absolutely. And also, I think when I was setting up this journey through your gallery, I really envisioned it next to the Rita Soulin and the jewelry, and what comes out of the earth and what goes back into the earth, and also the stark differences between Douglas skulls and also the glass behind it. It just really fit in like puzzle pieces once we started talking about it and started going. I think we're lucky enough to curate our lives, and whether it's art or jewelry that makes you feel happy or makes you feel sad or makes you feel angry, I think that's really part of successful conversation with any creative process, is like enticing this strong feeling out of you.
I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to speak, because obviously creating all of this in a pandemic, like the times that we did see each other, there was self-distancing, there was masks, and now we get to see each other's faces. And it's fun to just be able to sort of speak informally about everything that's been happening, and obviously share it with the world and the people who couldn't see it in real life, but who have definitely experienced it through all the photos that we had taken, and who for the next week can come and see it here at the gallery. So thank you so much for being the very first curator at Robertson Arès besides François and I. It was such a joy to work with you.
Thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity to work with you and to give me the way just to fly free and do what I wanted. Thank you.
I think that's the only way to do it, because I mean, if you don't have freedom, then what was even the point of collaborating? In my opinion, I know that also definitely gives me a lot of freedom, and I don't, maybe I give him some too, but he gives me a lot. So have a wonderful rest of day, and we hope to see you soon, and to welcome everyone that's seeing us on this YouTube channel to come and see us soon at the gallery.
Thank you guys.
Have a great day.
Bye.